Hello and welcome to Michael and Ivanka's Grand Podcast, a podcast where we try and talk about big topics every week instead of just brushing them under the carpet while we get on with our day-to-day lives, in order to prevent the burgeoning normalisation of absolute bullshit from every direction. My name's Michael Forrest.
And I'm Ivanka Magic. And today we seem to be speaking very, very fast.
Yes. It makes the podcast shorter and more efficient.
Or people can listen to it in times 2 if they want to.
Yeah, so if they listen to this in times 2, it's going to be times 4. So this is the fastest podcast on record. This week, we are talking about entertainment.
Oh, entertainment, you say?
What does that mean to you? Any top-level headlines?
No.
Well,
I entertain myself with my humour.
People like being entertained, but is it valuable to be entertained instead of doing serious things? I don't know. I just think we're going to just jump in and just, see what happens, aren't we?
Well, I was thinking about it this morning because one of the reasons this topic has come up because of Beth Bell's comments was that entertainment or communication, and at what point does communication become entertainment, or what point do you maximise on the entertainment element of the communication in order to purely entertain without communicating, and that kind of thing.
There we go. That's good.
That's what I was thinking about.
Sounds like a good foundation. All right, well, let's, before all that, how was your week, Ivanka?
My week has been fine, but I'm having a funny week, or a funny period in my life where you have days where you're not sure if you're good or bad.
A good or bad person?
No. Well, no, I always know that I'm a good person. Well, I'm always questioning my good personness or my good person factors, more along the lines of, am I okay kind of week. My shoulder's annoying me because it hurts and I want it to stop hurting. So it's reminding me that my body's aging.
No.
So whereas I don't have these sort of... aspirations to live to 300 like what you do. I don't like reminders that my body's kind of losing movement.
How was your chiropractic?
Very good, and we had a good chat, and we got some good plans. But I've also made a doctor's appointment, so try and get some physio maybe on the NHS, and also an X-ray because I've also got this funny knobbly bit in my neck.
Oh God.
So I think that's bothering me. And then just generally, you come back from one place and then you're back in Brighton. And then I went to London. I had a very interesting day doing I've done this, I've got my first regular client for my user research coaching thing that I've started doing. So I went there and I really enjoyed it. I really do enjoy it. Being asked questions, being able to just transmit, be there, ask me questions and I will endeavour to answer them and help you shape your thinking, that kind of thing. So that was good. And then I had to sit on the train on the way home. Well, when I say sit, I mean be squished like a sardine into 3 carriages of what should have been in an 8-carriage train. But I don't really know what's wrong. I think sometimes you have weeks where you're just feeling a bit, and I'm having one of them weeks.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. And shall I try and cheer you up?
Yes,
Probably,
please do.
I don't know if that's my forte. Well, my week, big things this week. I'm migrating my current account from HSBC to Monzo. So I'm going with a startup for my day-to-day banking. And it's very exciting. And what pushed me over the edge? Oh, no, I'd already started it. And then they did this, if this, then that integration, which is I'm just in love with. It's this idea that if you spend money in a certain shop, you can make it play a song or move money out of one place and put it in another place and kind of manipulate. I can do my daily savings. Because I had this £10 a day just automatic saving on my current account with HSBC, which I had to sort of phone them up to set up years ago because I'd heard about Simple Bank, like in America. I thought, I like that idea of like automatic saving. I set that up as a daily thing, but then for a while some system they had was like generating a letter every single day, and I'd get like this wad of letters from the bank that were all identical, and it took them a while to kind of catch on to that. And just their tech is just generally so awful that and I was a bit worried that, how am I going to get this daily thing that's not a feature in the app? And then they announced this, and I was like, I can just set it up. So I've already set that up, and it's nice, and I can press a button and a thing will happen. Or it's all very good, and it's how things should be, really. Yes, and apart from that, just trying to sort of extricate I didn't say on the podcast, but I've quit this project I was on. I just didn't see it working. I didn't see it being a good fit for me as a CTO in the end. So, I got a couple more weeks to get through, and then I'm sort of free again and looking to see what I can do next, and hopefully something meaningful, and hopefully something where I can kind of set my own hours a bit more and, just kind of get out of this clock punching cycle. I've been like clock watching on this job, which is just such a bad sign. It's been years since I've had any project where I've been like, it's only 4:30. It's like, oh God, it's still only 2. It's like, that's no way to live.
No, that's no way. That's not a good sign.
No. I banged my knee in a taxi. But it was my own fault. Well, it wasn't my own fault. It was just complicated, and I kind of went into the back of the taxi with my bike because I was trying to kind of keep an eye on the 4 lanes of incoming traffic from the other way, and the taxi sort of stopped when I wasn't expecting it to, but the guy in the back kind of glared at me, but, it's fine. Also, today, Sharon got this delivery. So I took her driving license and her little post office card, put it in my back pocket. I walked her to the bus stop. It had already fallen out of my back pocket. So I rode back, checked the way. I'm like, these back pockets, what is the point of these back pockets? It was literally like 5 doors from our house. It had just fallen out. And I wasn't checking it constantly because I was wheeling my bike. But it's just, what the hell? So just nothing ever in a back pocket ever for the rest of my life. It's just not worth it.
No, I'd have thought you'd already have tested that out sufficiently.
Well, I literally said, well, this is probably a really bad idea. I'm just going to put this in my back pocket, putting it in my back pocket. Let's hope this doesn't go wrong. Walk to the bus stop. When we get to the bus stop, what the hell? It's already gone.
But you found it this time.
Yeah, I found it. It was, goodness me, eh? Goodness me.
Goodness you.
Holy heck.
The other thing after we were recording last week's episode that I was reminded of is that we didn't comment on the results of the Irish referendum on which was a very positive outcome for the world,
society.
Frankly, for society, that women don't have to die anymore if things go wrong.
But don't you think that women, if they do get pregnant, should be punished? As Donald Trump said, there should be some sort of punishment. He said something about, like, if women get pregnant, there should be some sort of punishment on the subject of abortions. Like, that guy. But do you not think maybe an abortion is a punishment of sorts?
You can't even give that a response, to be honest with you. That's
so
like just so... you know where to start arguing with that. And on the subject of people like him, I was also listening to, I haven't done much Radio 4 recently for my sanity, but I was had it on the other day, yesterday in fact, cooking, and I was listening to the woman who's been appointed by the UN to lead on some sort of task force for against women, harassment against women. But one of the things she talked about as well was how women need to understand that they don't have to take it. And I think that's one of my big underlying things is that, I was taught that I don't have to take any behaviour from anyone that I don't like, be that, just you can't say things like that to me. No, you can't touch me. I don't know if I told you recently, I was walking along the road and I was inside a school group, and they were because we have lots of visiting groups of school children to Brighton, obviously, and this was they were from a foreign place, but that's not relevant other than that they were out in a school time. And as I was walking, this young lad poked me in the back. And I turned around because it wasn't in any way, there was nothing, I don't know, perverse about what he did. He was just showing off in front of his mates. But he touched me, and I went in step with him. He's taller than me, probably 14, 15. And I went, "You can't touch me." And he looked at me and went, "I'm sorry, I don't speak English." I was like, "You do speak English. And you certainly understand enough to know that it is not okay to touch me or anybody else." And he went, sorry. I was like, "Just don't do it again, ever." I was like, I don't think he ever will. I was like, "So you don't know me. I didn't say it was okay to touch me. Do not touch me." So, but you do have a right to say that. If you take it to the full letter of the law, it's assault. So that was a very somber little interlude. So
this woman, Me Too.
Well, what was fascinating really was that what had started as online social media #MeToo has actually caused some very large organisations to take it more seriously than they ever have.
Right.
And start revisiting and creating task forces. And because any big organisation, the UN included, has been party to some very high profile and unacceptable sort of harassment type behaviour. But the fact that this online movement has forced them to revisit, I think is quite interesting and powerful. So that was what was interesting about listening to this woman.
Sometimes they go, sometimes it works.
Sometimes it works.
Sometimes tweeting a hashtag is enough. But I mean, you've got to tweet your
you need
stories
a lot
as
of people.
well.
And there was a similar thing I happened across. Do you say his name? Akala? That there's a British artist. I saw a clip of him being interviewed. He talks about racism and what it means to be black a lot. And I saw him talk about, and which I thought was a really good part of the description for our podcast. He said, when people go, "Oh, we don't need to talk about racism," talking about it draws attention to it, bigs it up. He's like, "No, we don't stop talking about Shakespeare just because that was in history. If we want to, we do need to keep talking about things in order to examine all the elements of what it is and how to move it on, and how to make sure that we don't just keep repeating the same patterns or bury them in such a way that, I think one of the things everyone was surprised about after the referendum was how racist Britain still is.
Yeah.
And we thought we weren't. We thought we'd cured it.
I met someone yesterday who apparently voted Leave because of something to do with cucumbers. Something to do with apparently EU cucumber straightness thing, that some fake news that she'd seen. So that was her reason for voting Leave. Apparently she didn't like the EU imposing straight cucumbers on us. So
fair
cool.
enough.
That's great.
That's what matters.
When I said we were doing entertainment to Sharon, she came back to me with some Latin. So that's how I was going to start this. Panem et circenses, or which in
bread
Latin,
and circuses.
Bread and circuses, supposedly coined. Apparently a cynical formula of the Roman emperors for keeping the masses content with ample food and entertainment. Is entertainment just something to keep people kind of in a little daze where they don't ever start to want to make changes about things? Or maybe if entertainment and food, maybe that is all we need.
Maybe. I think I had heard of that expression, and I used it when I think early in the Brexit negotiations. I was like, It's like, we need the food as well, though, Teresa. You know, I think that's the bit that is being a bit neglected at the moment, with the no plan for the economy whatsoever. Is it something, do we need more than entertainment and food? Well, if you go to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's a few things between food and entertainment. But I think entertainment is a good distraction. I think it is distraction a lot of the time. You know, and that's not to say that it's always negative, but shifting away from your own reality for periods of time. You know, I don't know if that's a bad thing at all. It depends whether my father was very switch off this soap opera immediately, because it is just them entertaining your brain so that you don't think and you don't question the position you're in society.
Yeah, well,
but I think we've already got a flavour of what my father was like. So,
it's an interesting point, but like I think we do have a certain need to be able to turn off our brains, or just let the background stuff happen. So it's not just because you're being entertained doesn't mean that there's not sort of stuff going on in the background, and that the next time you come to a problem that you've been trying to solve, that you won't suddenly have the solution.
Yeah. But see, Marcus and I happened to talk about that this week, because we talked about the fact that if you are trying to come up with ideas, or you've got probably, you've been given a brief, it's all been fed into your brain, you've done you kind of need to either do something else or do nothing for a bit while it all sort of filters through your brain. and then after, so, we were talking about the importance of elapsed time in a project, or, iterations of something you do to distract yourself while your brain's actually processing all the inputs. I'm not sure that's...
Well, I think you have to bang your head against it for a while first. Otherwise, you're just kind of procrastinating and not starting. I think it's important to sort of like, you got to immerse yourself in it and try and figure it out. And then like, I kind of usually push as far as I can go, and then kind of like sleep, come back to it the next day, and then things are easy. And that's quite a kind of common cycle when things are difficult.
Well, or just that you're not inspired. I don't think it always is about difficult. That's what I meant about reading and absorbing the brief. You have to sort of fully understand what the scope of the problem is or the thing you're trying to invent or solve or whatever. And then you have a few runs at it before you... It all ties into what we were talking about last week about those sort of, waiting for the genius to arrive.
Exactly,
the genius can only hit your brain when there's a bit of space for it.
Yeah, but you do have to show up.
Yes, you do have to show up. You do have to have all the little dots to join up already lined up in your head. But yeah, so the sort of entertainment there, I don't know, because you see, there's entertainment that makes you think as well.
Sure.
We've definitely talked about that before, like the whole, having...
Yeah, like news, Stephen Colbert, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or just like satire, even.
Yeah.
But I think that's not what I really think of when I think of entertainment at all. That sort of starts to get off. I don't know. It is like broccoli, a bit more. It's like eating your vegetables a bit more than like entertainment
definitely.
Is more kind of like, what is entertaining? It's just kind of watching people do something stupid. I don't know. Like what.
Well, for me, I think, I've already confessed to my reading of crappy detective novels that really don't have any, so my idea of, but it's not, I expect it is entertainment, but only in as much as it's a distraction. So I'm never going to be fully absorbed, but it's not going to give me ideas. And it's not going to send me off on some random tangent where then I have to research, which is one of my problems with reading factual stuff. Is that then I have to think about it. It's like if I read a detective novel, I can be, or like watch Poirot on telly. I can be entertained or distracted, and then I switch it off, and there's no follow up. There's no work.
I want to think of a better way to phrase this, but like, what is there kind of a scale from entertainment to sort of like art and culture. Like entertainment feels like it's very much one end of a thing, and like even if you think about a TV sitcom, which like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or something, it'll be kind of entertainment, and then when they do the kind of like, now we're going to talk about race for an episode or something like that, it's sort of like it's the entertainment is going to be sacrificed, but you're kind of like, you're not going to leave, but it does feel like a distinct different thing. Like, now we're going to talk about the importance of family. It's sort of it interferes with your entertainment, and it does not say that it shouldn't be kind of sandwiched in there, but it is sort of like, oh, you were enjoying something, and then they sort of like throw in something to make you think.
I wrote down, just before you said that, I'm an entertainment that, I like a scale. I had entertainment all the way to work. So right. It's like, where thinking is work, I suppose. And art and culture, I don't know, art can be just purely, if entertainment is distraction, then let's say if we take art as being I know there are many aspects of art and many incarnations, but let's say take something that's very, very beautiful. So and you're experiencing it purely on an emotional level. So then there's no real thinking involved. There's only feeling. Or when you're looking at something like, you talked about somebody doing something silly, it's just going to make you laugh. For me, entertainment has this element of distraction.
Yes, definitely. But so what about, as artists go, I kind of think about David Shrigley as being in a strange sort of place where he's definitely an artist, but all his work it's all funny, which makes it entertaining. And it's also quite kind of snacky. You kind of just see it and then you probably don't really have to look at it again a lot of the time. Or maybe you do. Like I like his one on fractals, which science reveals. He just shows that how there's sort of self-similarity across scales. He sort of draws a kind of crude picture of that and goes, "Science reveals nature is boring." I'm like, yeah, I suppose that is quite boring, but it's the same. But that's different to. That's more something that it sort of reconfigures your brain a little bit to think about things differently, which is different to entertainment, which to me is. You're sort of sitting back, aren't you? You're just going, make a thing happen. Do it again. Again. Like you definitely, that childish, again. We did something this morning that was apparently extremely entertaining to the 3-year-old, where Nick was going, do you want some water? No. Do you want some coffee? No. Do you want a duvet? No. Do you want a placemat? No. Do you want a pancake? No. Oh, yes. She thought this was hilarious because she kept saying, and then he had to do it to her, and then I had to do it to her, and until she didn't get caught out. Right.
And then she was like, But
it's games, isn't it? I was just thinking, like, you can entertain yourselves with little games or little things like that and just play. Obviously, it has utility beyond just entertaining yourself. I don't know. Like, I don't really know what entertainment is the more I think about it.
I've been thinking when you were talking about, that sort of again, it's like I got this vision of like one of those Saturday night TV shows or where people are all in like a theatre and then there's people dancing and singing and it's like... Yeah,
like halftime Super Bowl show.
Yeah. It's just like
everything has to be big and enormous and silly stuff.
I can't move because the bread and circuses quote as well. That is definitely a distraction. That's what it's all about. It's like your belly's not rumbling and you're laughing or watching some gladiators stab each other or something, whatever. If that's that's apparently what passes entertainment.
Well, apparently that's apocryphal, that they were sort of killing each other all the time. They were very expensive, those gladiators, so they weren't likely to be... they didn't really kill each other all the time.
Oh, they
that
didn't.
would have just been not very cost effective at all. That's another Adam ruins everything learning. That's why I'm just ruining things.
Gladiators killing cheap slaves. From
well, I mean, slaves are not cheap either. Like anyway, but that's the thing. Like, a slave is kind of a luxury item, don't you think? Like, if you own a person, that's probably one of your prized possessions.
Well, probably,
unless you're very, very, very rich.
I don't know.
But anyway, this
that's quite a disturbing tangent. I'm not sure I
Yes.
like it, but let's leave that one.
yes, let's leave it.
But
because-
then, Beth's example of cavemen drawing on a cave.
well, yeah, I don't think that's
entertainment?
entertainment. Isn't that? There's sort of like record keeping and storytelling, and like stories are again, that's like a sort of an entertaining delivery of some sort of wisdom
Lesson.
a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Some lesson, yeah. Like, would Jesus have done as well as he did if his parables weren't quite entertaining? Like, oh, what, he didn't, did he? Samaritan? Yeah, I thought they were awful. Maybe we could just figure out how to be entertaining is something I'd like to quite like to get to the
that's
bottom of.
This is episode 30. 30. This is episode 30 of the podcast.
Yeah.
Michael and Ivanka try and work out how to be entertaining.
So,
Oh dear.
be funny.
Be
That's
funny.
always entertaining.
Yeah.
Do you know what's sort of, like one of the weird things? I played a lot of live shows over the years, and I just remember like a semi-recent one. I decided I wanted to play it in like a hoodie, and then I sort of came on stage, and I you're always setting up, and then you come on, and I sort of was playing for a bit, and then I remembered the hoodie, grabbed it, and put it on, and that got like a big cheer, and I'm like, what? I don't understand, but I suppose is this weird? What made that something that people thought was? It's just like, oh, he did something. It's like you just got to do something, and that people are like, oh, he did a thing. Woo! Juggles and balls. It's like anything can be entertaining if it. Well, why? Well, usually when I put clothes on, no one cares. Is it just the context of it, that the fact that I'm on a stage, the fact that then I did something that was like perceived to be part of a performance? It was like, hey, that's a thing I can. Strange.
I have actually Googled entertain.
Okay.
It says to late 15th, this is the...
Really bringing you the value now.
We're Googling it for you. So it says to keep up and maintain, to keep someone in a certain frame of mind.
Ah, right. So it's sort of like keep doing things to sort of...
To keep... So somebody doesn't go off and do something. So like keep me laughing, keep me mesmerised, keep me relaxed, keep me whatever. Because you do talk about like, can somebody entertain a child for? it's like just keep it focused on some things.
That frame of mind of being entertained is... It just means you're paying attention, doesn't it? It just means, like, I'm thinking of physics lectures now. Because I always just thought of that in terms of, like, when you're speaking, you should sort of keep it to those sort of 20-minute chunks. But also, I think if you did a little flourish with your chalk, obviously they don't use chalk anymore, but if you did a little flourish or a little thing every so often, then people would kind of keep paying attention more, because it's hard watch. I tell you what, like these, well, I mean, you did engineering, whatever, but like those blackboards full of equations for science, it was hard to, and you're sort of trying to copy them down, and it's in really bad sort of handwriting most of the time.
Yeah.
It's like the thermodynamics derivations, that was tough to stay awake during.
Yeah, there was a few of those. But that's the use of entertainment, very much focused on this keeping you focused, keeping you in a particular frame of mind. So by using an occasional flourish, you're just making sure people are staying with you. Are you still with me? You're still listening, still paying attention? And then I suppose you can use that. But you would never use the expression entertain if you were talking about, I don't know, a guided meditation. But that's
they're
a lot
boring,
of those
though.
guided meditations.
No, that's not true. They're very profound.
Well, I went to this exercise class yesterday, and it's organised by somebody who knows a lot about. He's a dancer, but he's studied movement for a very long time. So he had elements that one might encounter in a yoga class. For example, the savasana, the lying down at the end. And he was talking, but he wasn't sort of sitting there going, and now relax every part of your body. He was just talking to us whilst we were lying still at the end of the class. And I was thinking, how much value do those little... And now imagine that you're walking through a beautiful garden. How much value do they add when the sensations in my body are exactly the same, and my brain? Listening to him talk about, because we were all pretending to fly and having a laugh during the class. It was a great class.
Meditation though, it's just, for me, it's just like just feeling itchy. It's just a study of just having various different itches. I just find it very hard, especially in a class. It's like, don't scratch the itch. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's a new one over there. And you're supposed to like focus on the itch. It's like, it just makes me feel so itchy.
I definitely have that. It's like I think the first ever meditation class I went to, I just sat there going, my nose really itches. Like, don't scratch your nose, don't move. But then I read this really good book a few years ago, and it talked about, it's like, you didn't grow up in India. You are not used to sitting cross-legged on the floor or crouching. You are used to sitting on a chair. Meditation is not a battle against your body. It's a way of calming the mind. So it's like, so sit on a chair. And, it's like, because basically any fool can control their body. He didn't phrase it like that. It's like overcoming your body or controlling your body is one thing, but actually, batting thoughts away is a completely different activity. So, yeah, that was quite useful. And if your nose itches, scratch it.
Well, I'm just scratching. That's the thing. And when I do it at home, I just kind of like, I'm scratching.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah.
But what can you do?
What can you do?
How about we approach this by taking the opposite of entertainment, or I mean, not even what
What's
I was
boring?
going to conversely, what is boredom? Like, why don't we like? But boredom is the thing that then subsequently leads you to kind of look for some other stimulus, right?
Yeah.
So what makes stuff? I think so much stuff is boring, but it's kind of a taboo to call things boring if you've had a certain upbringing, I suppose. But I was always like, books are boring. Is this episode boring?
I don't know.
Are we going to hold people's attention? And that's the thing. I'm constantly like, as we record the podcast, I'm like, how do we make sure that people kind of stay interested? How do we kind of keep the energy levels up, keep kind of interesting points flowing? Because otherwise people are going to like, there's so many possible other podcasts they could be listening to, let alone like other things they could be doing. It's quite stressful trying to keep the ball in the air.
It is, but I don't think it's possible to constantly keep an individual's attention. I have been thinking about this specifically because I listen to podcasts that I love and have me rolling around on the floor, and then I'll get halfway through one episode and just go, I'm not in the mood for this. You're not making me laugh today. And I would say that it's 9 times out of 10, it's me not in the mood, not the... So for me, like...
that type of thing.
That sort of like, this is not what's going to distract me today. So the detective novels, I can be not in the mood for a detective novel. Or not in the mood for... I just can't... I don't know. I don't know that I ever have... I'm bored.
I don't think anyone... it's hard to be bored these days, really, because there is always something you can. It's not a feel like it's something. When I was growing up, it used to be kind of a big factor in your day. It was like, nothing to do, don't know what to do.
Yeah, but that's
the now
thing.
You just kind of pick up your phone and just go to a different. Like you'll kind of go to 3 or 4 different apps, and before long you'll find some bloody little video or something that you feel like you're learning something. It's like, okay.
But the bored thing from when you're a kid, there's nothing to do, or and then your mum goes, well, you've got this and this and this. What do you mean you're bored? You can go and tidy up your room.
Yeah, that's always a good one. That's what I want to do.
Suddenly, I'm not bored at all.
Just tidy up my room.
I've got a few things you could do. No, that's not what I meant. So I think boredom is more... No, I don't find anything entertaining today. Nothing is distracting me or keeping my attention.
From my ennui, sort of my existential ennui. Is existential feelings kind of an opposite pole to entertained as well, aren't they? It's like I can't be entertained because I'm going to die one day. What about like the role of, drinking, all that kind of like going out, drinking, talking to people in the pub even?
Yeah.
That whole kind of thing called chemically induced entertainment. Like drugs can make things entertaining that otherwise wouldn't be entertaining. For example, alcohol making certain types of repetitive conversations continue to be entertaining.
Well, I think it's chemically assisted socialising, but there is the socialising element. So you're not in a pub to entertain your friends. You're in a pub to listen to your friends and to tell them stories. So yes, you don't want to bore them, but equally you might be meeting your friends because you want to talk about something serious or something not serious, or you're interested in their opinion. I got this lovely quite on Tuesday when I was doing this user research thing, and one of the guys is quite inexperienced, but he talked about being genuinely curious about people, and he just threw it into a sentence. But that's a useful thing when you're talking to people, never mind when you're doing user research. Just that sort of giving somebody your attention is what makes a pub visit rewarding, and them giving their attention to you rather than that turn taking. I'll talk and then you talk. It's more like the reason we haven't got bored of recording a podcast is because it's entertaining. But us, time does fly. We do have a chat. We do get something out of it. I think if it didn't at least entertain the two of us, then
then what's the point?
Couldn't be asked.
After the edit, certainly. No, it's...
Well,
I'm just thinking one of the things that can take you out of being entertained is when you're a bit confused or something's a bit too complicated. And I think that's a crime I frequently commit. It's like there's too many... You're kind of so busy trying to kind of parse what's kind of coming into your eyes and ears, like trying to make sense of where it goes, that it's hard to be entertained by it. So that's why, like, a detective novel... you already kind of know exactly what to expect from that. But if you don't have like a frame of reference, you're sort of trying to take too much in. And so for me doing it's entertaining me, certainly, because I'm just listening to the music and enjoying that I have so much control over this and that. But for the person watching, it's like, what's happening here? Like, and there's a little cue. How's that? Where's that? Why? What is happening? Well, there's a role of simplicity and there's also a role of familiarity. So there's only a few kind of like tent poles of familiarity where something's a bit more complex, like a detective novel, or if you want to introduce something that's different, then it sort of has to be quite simple, isn't it? No. Well, it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah, it has to be. Go on.
Well, that's, I think, like the way like artists that are kind of like pushing the envelope, innovating, doing interesting things that no one's done before, then that gets sort of subsumed into pop music, pop art as a sort of simplified version with the corners rounded up, like a Banksy, or a pop song. Kind of has all the kind of confusing bits that kind of that it's kind of taking from, kind of sanded off, and then it's simple enough that people can just find it entertaining.
I think it's all down to this whole thinking thing. It's like, How much are you making me think? And am I enjoying? Because what I my detective novels for relaxation I think makes me is kind of lazy, because I don't do puzzles. I don't sit there and solve complex puzzles for entertainment. But I know a lot of people do, because that's what distracts them. Yeah. Whereas I make everything into some complex puzzle. So if I then did complex puzzles I don't think I've never got into it. So I think for mass entertainment, it needs to not have, when it just can't be hard work. So it
can't, or it has to just be different to what your work is to some extent as well. So if my day job involves solving a lot of puzzles, then the last thing I want to do is solve puzzles in the evening. Whereas someone who's got quite a mindless job might sort of, that's when you're going to start, your brain needs a little bit of exercise, and you are going to embrace those kind of complicated, you're going to, click on those things.
But what about people who do crosswords and stuff? Have you ever got into crosswords?
I do them. I don't like the whole cryptic clue thing. It seems so up its own arse.
Well, yeah, that's my. I'll do a crossword, but not. I can't. I just don't know how to do the cryptic ones.
Yeah, you just have to learn the stupid stuff that. Oh, anagrams. What? What's that got to? You just got to like learn the set of things that cryptic crossword
The tool,
creators,
yeah.
like,
the tools.
use.
But people do enjoy a cryptic crossword. But then I think for the people who really enjoy it and get into it, they know the tools. So it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
You know, they know the language. So
They've learnt it.
So they've learnt the language, they know the language, and then they can spend time doing a thing. It's like...
Yeah, so it's not necessarily simple. I think it's familiarity with conventions of one sort or another that allow you to then just relax into it.
Yeah, it's the relax bit. But then also people watch horror movies and that's not relaxing. Maybe
it's a contrast thing again. It's like I kind of want to feel like there's danger in my life because normally I'm kind of bored. I don't know. Is that... I don't know. Do you like horror films?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
Life's horrible enough.
I mean... Like, you know, people like David Lynch that could maybe be kind of classed as there's horror elements to it, or even like Buffy had horror elements, but like something that's pure kind of horror film, especially if it's just jump scares, I'm just not really, you know, I'm interested.
I think my tolerance has built up for gore over the years, just because it's quite hard to be a grown-up and not accept a degree of gore into your film and TV entertainment. But in terms of things that just make you go, or you know, I'm anticipating that I'm the other side of the room waiting for it to pass. I hate it. I don't like the feeling. Maybe part of this entertainment thing is also a focused emotion. So a horror movie is, you know, very focused on fear and tension, or you know, and then you can watch a, you know, rom-com and be lost in some sort of like, you know, sort of world, or comedy, you know, just laughing and not taking anything seriously. So there's a sort of there is a simplicity to the emotional response expected, I think. Is they're designed to like tap into, because even I've never generally heard a very beautiful painting described as entertainment.
No.
But I think it kind of is. It's just there to let you lose yourself in a given emotional response for a period of time. That might not be why the person drew it. Maybe or painted it or did whatever, sculpted it. But being lost for a moment in a single or a very narrow set of emotions, that's entertaining. I think complexity comes as well when you're going, you know, I'm feeling stupid because I can't work this out, and I'm kind of laughing hysterically because I'm feeling, maybe feeling, but then feeling uncomfortable is also something that, you know, these sort of, one of the reasons I don't watch reality TV is they make me feel uncomfortable, and it's not a feeling I enjoy. Yeah, it's like, stop it. No, you can't sing. Who on earth let you onto this thing?
Humour is entertaining. But like all media, forms of art, humour, again, it's like on a spectrum of like some people are kind of breaking down your assumptions about the world, and other people are doing fart jokes, and there's a lot in between. And sometimes fart jokes can really make you think about the world in a different way.
We were having a conversation around the table the other day. So it's me, my mother, and my husband. And we were talking about somebody that we didn't want the conversation repeated. And the 3-year-old is now able to repeat conversations when you don't want to. Nick goes, "What are you doing?" Because she was looking at us smiling. And he said, "Are you listening?" She said, "No, I'm farting." And she just looked really pleased with herself.
Oh, Lord.
That was funny. Kept me amused.
There you go.
Nice.
I mean, basically toilet humour is the pinnacle of funniness. My brother's very entertaining. As an artist, as a beatboxer. He always like picked the entertainment route, but then he kind of like got burnt out from it, I think, because he was too focused on, because it was just entertainment, and it wasn't, after a certain point, it just wasn't giving him anything. So he's like going out beatboxing in front of these huge crowds, like thousands of people, Get paid to do it, TV advert, this and that. But he was just like, I think it was just like not really doing anything for him anymore. So everyone there is like, oh, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. You're so brilliant. And he's like, yeah.
I think that's quite an interesting point that we've only now brought up, which is the energy that is required to entertain somebody. From you. I think that's part of it. Maybe entertainment is not so much two-way.
It's a flow of energy from one person to the other, isn't it? It's you're energizing someone.
You're basically putting things into somebody else, and it doesn't fill you back up.
Yeah. And he said to me, like, the most important thing to do when you play a big show is, like, you got to take every bit of energy that the crowd gives you and give it back to them. Like, amplify it even, like, back to them. It's this flow of, like, you get stuff, you give it back, you get more. I think that's to be an entertainer. It is. You can't. If you're just on autopilot, it's not really entertaining.
No, absolutely
unless
not.
you're genuinely putting energy in. And that's why you love it so much when someone's just. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It's just the fact that they're kind of like expending energy into it. For you, you know.
Yeah. But that's what you have to do. But in many ways, I think the word entertainment implies some trivialness, which I don't believe is necessarily, because it can be used for evil, which is the bread and circus. B, it's something you need to do if you want to keep people's attention. So whether that's doing a presentation or running a workshop or recording a podcast with your friend Michael or whatever it is, you have to be putting energy into it, your own. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not going to do that thing of being able to keep people's focus and be able to keep keep them in a state that you want them to be in, whether that's a state of frustration, laughing, fear, or of beauty, or whatever it is. Don't you think?
Yeah. And it's like, and that's why I think I it's so important to have an audience sometimes, because you get energy back from that audience that you can then. My problem is often that it's hard to kind of commit to broadcasting something entertaining when the chances are you're not going to get any of that energy back, and it just feels like a one-way street, and you're just kind of throwing a lot of stuff out there. But then it doesn't take much to kind of get re-energized either. It's just like, I just think back to when I was streaming live on Twitch every night, which I did for a few months, every single night, 2 hours, and now when I sort of stopped, all I could remember was how much effort it was. But what I kind of forgot was how much energy I'd get from people in the chat sort of saying things to me and kind of encouraging me, or just criticizing as well. Like, that was still a sort of an energizing force. But it's really hard to kind of embark on trying to entertain people when you haven't got any energy as you're, experiencing. But yeah, if you just do it, sometimes you can bootstrap it. Just if you just start, and then the right person, someone says something, then that kind of
can kick it,
keeps you going, keeps you rolling, keeps you.
But maybe if you truly want to entertain somebody, you need to, love is one of those things that is actually, or gifting we've talked about. It's one of those things, or being kind. It's something that actually shouldn't require reciprocity in order to be rewarding. So maybe entertainment, the problem with entertainment though is that if you can't see the energy coming back, or you can't feel the energy coming back, or, you're standing in front of a room of people presenting and they're all just staring deadpan, it's very easy to lose you're tapping into your energy. But maybe approaching it in a way that there's no expectation of reciprocity would make it easier to be entertaining.
That's a nice idea, but just think what it's just, even in terms of love, just think how exhausting it is to not have that reciprocated. So like there can be a certain leap of faith, and sometimes you just, if you're a professional entertainer, that's your job, is to, even if you don't have the energy, you've got to find that energy from somewhere and just do it. And then probably, as soon as people start responding, then, it's going to be great.
Well, I feel like we've actually...
We got a little breakthrough.
It was, so, we've been rewarded for our persistence on the topic.
Excellent. I'm going to play us out then with some Increment, which is my brother's hip-hop trio. So you can hear a little bit of beatboxing, but also some rapping and stuff.
Welcome to my harmoniously introduced piece of beatbox and speech combined to pronounce to you our names. Yo, you know what? You know what's rare? Polar bears and koala bears are both quite rare. Orangutans too, when they're not in the zoo, are quickly becoming endangered. And tigers, miners, find us describing our way through there. And adders off, daggers off, stabbings are rare, but the news ain't fair. And
So, thanks for listening, everybody. If you like the podcast, come to grandpodcast.com. What a domain. And you can find all of our social media connections in there. How can people find you, though, Ivanka?
The best place to find me is to find me at Ivanka on Twitter. Though be warned, my notifications are currently a little bit noisy with people being rude about Ivanka Trump.
You can find me at michaelforrestmusic.com, and also have loads of links there as well. And yeah, give us a review.
Please do. Please give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find us and enjoy this wonderful self-reflection and introspection.
And tell us what you get out of it, because that's the thing. Like, you know, anything you can say will keep us energized. And this was suggested by a listener, so, you know, you might even get your subject on.
Exactly.
But all right, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.